A narrow path through silent stone, footsteps echo thin, shadows stretch along the valley, dry wind on my skin. I had learned to walk on careful ground, to ration every breath, saving hope for later seasons, bracing for the threat. Every dream felt slightly fragile, every promise worn, like a field that waits for weather but fears another storm. Then I heard it in the distance, underneath the sand. Not a roar of sudden rescue, but a steady, patient hand. There is a current running deeper, far below the dust, moving through the hidden places where I place my trust. When the surface cracks and withers, when the heat is loud, there is water still beneath me, flowing strong and proud. I was standing in the question, in the ache of slow delay, watching clouds that never gathered, watching a light that would not stay. But beneath my tired believing, through the stones and hardened ground, there was life I couldn't measure, faithful underground. There is a current running deeper, silent, sure and wide, through the fractures of my weakness. On the other side, when my hands are empty, shaking, when my prayers feel small, there is life that keeps on moving, holding through it all. No season stops its flowing, no sun can dry its course. Beneath the driest valley runs an unseen source. Clouds gather without hurry, a hush across the field. Silver threads begin descending, what was hidden is revealed. Dust had settled on my shoulders, dryness in the lines I traced. Every step felt faint and fragile, every prayer too small to place. I was living off the remnants of a distant borrowed stream, thirsting in the quiet spaces no one else had seen. Then the sky refused to close, it opened wide above, not in flashes, not in thunder, but in steady falling love. It keeps falling without measure,
Pale light rests on the hillside, mist unravels slow. Branches tremble in the silence, something starts to move below.
I had anchored to my worries, tied my fears with careful thread. Every thought a heavy stone beneath the words I never said. Then a whisper crossed the valley, touched the edge of doubt.
Not a shout of sudden rescue, but a breath that led me out.
I am lifted by a quiet current, not by force but by release. Like the dawn that finds the mountains,
bringing them to peace. When my strength is barely holding,
when my sight is dim,
there's a gentle hand that moves me, and I lean into the wind.
I was bracing for the breaking,
for the fall I feared would come,
guarding every fragile outcome,
keeping hope undone.
but the air began to carry
what I could not raise alone,
turning weight into a lightness
I had never known.
I am lifted by a quiet current,
Steady, soft and sure,
through the spaces of my weakness,
through what I endure.
when the ground beneath is shifting,
When my plans grow thin,
there's a faithful breath beneath me,
and I rise within. The burden fly. Dark clouds press against the hillside, thunder hums below. Fields are bending in the pressure, waters start to grow.
I could feel the ground give way, Hear the cracking in the frame. Every structure I had trusted shifting out of place. Rain was falling without warning. Lines were washed from sight. Every plan I held so tightly, drifting in the night.
But beneath the restless surface, under soaked and shaken land, there was something deeper holding, not undone by shifting sand.
There are roots below the horizon, hidden from the eye, holding fast when waves are climbing, reaching deep and high. When the waters climb around me, when the winds are loud,
there is life beneath the breaking, firm beneath the flood.
I had thought that I was falling, that the storm had won the ground. Every tremor felt like ending, every silence like a sound. Yet beneath the swirl of chaos, past the fear and roar, there was strength I never planted, holding at the core. There are roots below the horizon, silent, strong and sure, through the seasons of unraveling, through what I endure. When the surface keeps on changing, when the sky is torn,
there is life beneath the water, keeping me from being warm. No wave can reach the deepest.
no storm can claim the hope. Beneath the flood of every fear is an anchored soul. There are roots below the horizon. There are roots below the horizon. There are roots below the horizon.
When the horizon widens, a thin line breaks the darkness, edges of the night retreating, stories yet untold. I was standing at the border of the things I could explain. Every step felt boxed and measured, marked by loss and gain. Sky above seemed low and narrow, close enough to touch. Dreams were folded small and guarded, never asking much. Then the light began expanding, past the lines I drew. Every boundary I trusted opened into view. Now the distance stretches farther, wider than before, like a door without a handle, always offering more. When my sight was fixed on limits, when my hope was thin, there was space beyond my sea, pulling me within. had counted every outcome, held my breath at every turn, fearing what I could not manage, what I did not earn. But the morning kept unfolding, layer after layer, turning narrow expectations into open air. Now the distance stretches farther, broader than my fear, through the quiet of surrender, through each rising tear. When the road seems short and ending, when my strength is worn, there's a sky that keeps on widening with every newborn dawn. No edge to what is given, no wall around the view. I step into the widening light and find my footing new. Shore before the sunrise, footprints in the sand, tide lines drawn from yesterday by an unseen hand. I have watched the waters pull away, leaving shells and stone, moments when the silence felt like I was left alone. Every ever quiet question, every pause a doubt, wondering if what once filled me was slowly running out. But beneath the shifting surface, past what eyes can see, there is more than just the motion of the restless sea. There's a depth that never empties, though the shoreline changes form. Fullness underneath the waiting, calm within the storm. When the waves seem far and distant, when the sand feels cold, there is water still surrounding, more than I can hold. I was measuring by movement,
by the rise and fall I knew. Let
invisible conditions tell me what was true. Yet the tide was always faithful, even in retreat, drawing breath before returning, stronger at my feet. There's a depth that never empties, steady, vast and wide, through the rhythm of the seasons, through the turning tide. When my heart begins to question if the flow has ceased, there is presence in the silence, and the waters never cease. No ending in the blue. On the ebb and quiet shore, the deep remains in view. Quiet river under moonlight, surface smooth and still. Shadows drift across the water, bending to its will. I was walking near the shoreline, careful where I'd stand, testing every step before me, gripping grains of sand. Fear was whispering of falling, of the pool beneath, of the depth I could not measure, under quiet peace. Then I felt a steady movement, not against but through, not a force that fought my weakness, but a strength I never knew. There's a current running deeper than the eye can trace, moving through the fragile places, filling every space. When my footing starts to falter, when my breath is thin, there is something strong beneath me, and I lean within. I had trusted only surfacing what my sight could prove, thinking safety meant resistance, never learning how to move. but the river kept on holding. Even when I swayed, not demanding I be stronger, only that I stay. There's a current running deeper, silent, wide and sure, through the fractures of my doubting, through what I endure. When the night grows heavy around me, when my strength feels spent, there is life beneath the waters, holding firm and constant. No slipping from the movement, no drifting far away. Within the unseen flow beneath, my restless heart can stay. Morning settles on the valley, gold across the plain. Dew is resting on the grasses after night and rain. I had walked through dim horizons, carrying the grave. Every thought a muted echo of a heavier day. Hope felt like a distant shimmer, far beyond my sight, like a star that fades at sunrise, without warmth or light. Then the hills began to brighten, soft without a sound. Not a blaze of sudden fire, but a glow across the ground. There is light upon the quiet, spreading far and wide,
touching every hidden hollow
I have kept inside.
when the past feels long and heavy.
When my heart is slow,
There is warmth across the fields
where silent mercies grow. Braced for sharper weather, for another shade of loss, guarding fragile expectations, counting every cost. But the day kept unfolding, layered, calm and clear, turning muted inner shadows into sun.
uncertainty,
through what I endure.
when the sky seems pale and distant,
When my strength feels small,
there is brightness in the stillness, covering it
across the fields of quiet light, a steady mercy's flow.
A narrow path through silent stone, footsteps echo thin, shadows stretch along the valley, dry wind on my skin. Careful ground to ration every breath, saving hope for later seasons, bracing for the threat. Every dream felt slightly fragile, every promise worn, like a field that waits for weather but fears another storm. Then I heard it in the distance, underneath the sand, not a roar of sudden rescue, but a steady, patient hand. There is a current running deeper, far below the dust, moving through the hidden places where I place my trust. When the surface cracks and withers, when the heat is loud, there is water still beneath me, flowing strong in pride. I was standing in the question, in the ache of slow delay, watching clouds that never gathered, watching light that would not stay. But beneath my tired believing, through the stones and hardened ground, there was life I couldn't measure, faithful underground. There's a current running deeper, silent, short and wide, through the fractures of my weakness. On the other side, when my hands are empty, shaking, when my prayers feel small, there is life that keeps on moving, holding through it all. No season stops its flowing. No sun can dry its cause. Beneath the driest valley runs an unseen soul.
clouds drifting slow and high. Evening stretches out its breath across the open sky.
I had drawn my careful borders around what I believed, framing every expectation by what I'd receive. Every dream was scaled to reason, every prayer confined, measured by the reach of sight and the limits of my mind.
Then the horizon kept expanding past the lines I knew. Every edge I once depended on
fell away from view. There is more above my knowing, more than I can frame, like a sky without a boundary, wide without a name. When my thoughts grow small and crowded, when my hope feels thin,
there's a vastness rising over
every wall within.
I had feared what lay beyond me,
what I could not trace,
holding tight to smaller certainties, familiar ground and place.
but the air grew full of promise, open, deep and clear, turning guarded hesitation into something near. There is more above my knowing, steady, wide and true, through the ceilings of my doubting, breaking open view. When the night begins to narrow, when the path seems small,
there's a wideness over everything,
and it covers all.
No edge to what surrounds me,
No end to what I see.
underneath the boundless heavens,
I finally breathe free. Dry earth under open daylight, cracks across the field. Wind moves through the empty places, nothing seems to yield. I had walked through thinning seasons, through the hush of silent ground, listening for distant movement, hoping for a sound. Every step felt dusted over, every prayer delayed, like a bucket lowered slowly into depth, afraid. Far beneath the brittle surface, past the reach of sight, something steady sky. Through the layers of my waiting, under dust and stone, there was motion without striving, working on its own. From the deep comes quiet fullness, clear and steady flow, through the cracks of long endurance, making courage grow. When the days feel long and barren, when my hope seems thin, there is strength beneath the surface, holding from within. No drought can claim the deepest, no silence seal the ground. Within the earth of every ache, a hidden source is found. Mist hangs in the early light, silver in the air. Stone stands quiet in the canyon, open bare. I had carried careful burdens, stacked them out of sight, balancing tomorrow's questions through another night. Every thought a guarded ledger, every breath contained, trying not to let the pressure show where I was straying. Then a distant rushing filled me, closer than before, not to crush what I was holding, but to open up the core. Something falls without a warning, yet it does not break. Power wrapped in gentle motion, for the weary's sake. When the weight upon my shoulders refuses to release, there is freedom in the pouring, and the striving starts to cease. Feared the sound of overflow, thought it meant collapse. Every surge would take the ground from carefully built maps, but the torrent did not shatter, did not tear apart. It loosened what was never meant to anchor to my heart. Something falls without resistance, strong yet soft and wide, through the fractures of my keeping, through my guarded pride. When the past begins to press me, when the doubts remain, there is lightness in the falling, like a healing rain. No burden in the cascade, no fear within the sound, beneath the endless falling. New mercy is found. Shadows resting on the hillside, cold upon the stone, echoes moving through the hollow, quiet and alone. I had walked the narrow passage where the sun felt far, carrying the weight of silence like a hidden scar. Every step a muted question, every breath unsure, wondering if the darkened path would stretch forevermore. Then a trembling on the ridges, soft without a sound, not a blaze of sudden fire, but a glow upon the ground. Touching every hidden corner I had kept inside. When the night feels long and endless, when my hope is small, there is brightness in the hollow, reaching through it all. I had feared the depth of shadows, thought they would remain etched upon the walls around me like a lasting stain. But the morning kept descending, layered, calm and sure, turning gray into a color gentle and secure. Light is moving through the lowlands, steady as it grows, through the quiet of surrender, through the ache that knows. When the path is steep and broken, when my strength feels thin, there is radiance in the valley, calling courage in. No corner left in darkness, no hollow left alone within the quiet valley. A deeper glow is shown. Gray across the open water, wind against the shore, footsteps fading in the sand like they were before. I had braced against the motion, watching swells arise, every crest a quiet warning, under heavy skies, counting how the tides were turning, reading every sign, measuring the strength of waters against this heart of mine. There's a stillness in the waiting, just before the roar, when the sea holds back its power at the edge of shore. In the pause before the breaking, there is something sure, not in noise or crashing thunder, but in what endures. When the surge feels overwhelming, when the ground seems gone, there's a steady hand beneath me the final crashing, thought it meant the end. Every rising wall of water, something I must fend. But beneath the rolling surface, past the foam and cry, there was strength that did not tremble, though the waves ran high. In the pause before the breaking, calm and anchored deep, through the force of restless motion, through the undertow I keep. When the storm is closing round me, when my breath is short, there's a presence in the waiting, stronger than the storm. No fear in the horizon, no end within the sound. Before the final wave can fall, a firmer ground is found.
Night rests on the silent ridges, cold against the stone. Stars are fading one by one, the sky not yet undone.
I had stood on trembling ledges, looking down in fear. Every shadow felt like falling, every silence near.
Wind was pressing at my weakness, clouds around my side,
Waiting for a sign of morning in the longest night.
then a line of faintest color
Touched the distant high.
Not a blaze of sudden rescue, but a patient light. There is strength beneath the skyline, steady as the stone, holding through the slow arrival of the day unknown. When the dark feels unrelenting, when my breath is tight, there is ground that keeps me standing through the fading night. I had feared the hours before dawn,
Thought they'd never move,
every minute stretched like distance,
I could not improve.
yet the peak remained unshaken, firm against the gray, carrying the first warm color into fragile day. There is strength beneath the skyline, quiet, high and sure, through the chill of waiting seasons, through what I endure. When the sky is barely changing, when my hope is worn, there is solid ground beneath me.
Welcome in the dawn.
No tremor in the summit,
No fracture in the frame before the sun has fully
breeze upon the shoreline, salt upon the air. Waves are breathing in the distance, slow and unaware.
I built my walls of caution high against the sea. Every doubt a careful boundary, guarding what could be.
Watching how the waters gathered, measuring their climb, bracing for the sudden moment they would cross the line.
But the surface kept on moving closer to my feet,
not with force of wild destruction,
but a rhythm calm and deep.
There is motion all around me, gentle, sure and wide, not to sweep away my footing, but to draw me inside. When the fear of losing ground tries to pull me tight, there is strength within the water, lifting through the night. The ending of control,
that surrender to the current would undo my soul.
Yet the waves did not consume me,
did not pull apart.
They surrounded every fracture,
softened every heart.
There is motion all around me,
steady as the moon,
through the turning of the seasons, through the changing tune. When the shoreline shifts beneath me, when my plans divide, there is peace within the swelling,
and I stand inside.
Drowning in the nearness,
no fear within the sound,
within the rising water,
a deeper calm is found.
Morning drifts across the grasses, mist along the plain. Dew is resting on the silence after gentle rain. I had walked with shortened vision, eyes upon my feet, counting every step for safety, fearing lost retreat. Every path felt small and bordered, narrow by my doubt, like a fence around the future, keeping wonder out. Then the field began to open, wide beyond my frame, not in sudden roar of thunder, but in steady flame. There is space beyond my striving, wide and calm and clear, stretching my breath is slow, there is freedom in the distance, further than I know.
I had feared the open vastness, thought I'd lose my way without walls to mark the borders of another day. Yet the ground beneath was faithful, soft and firm and kind, holding every wandering step without a line.
There is space beyond my striving, steady as the sky, through the ache of indecision, through the question why, when the road seems undefined, when the map is thin, there is peace across the meadow, drawing courage in. No fence upon the horizon,
No fence upon the horizon,
no limit in the air. Across the wide and quiet field I find you there. Evening rests along the water, gold upon the blue. Waves erase the fading footprints, leaving something new.
I had walked along the boundary where the sea meets land, thinking safety meant remaining on the solid sand.
Every step was drawn by caution,
Every glance unsure,
wondering how far the water would begin to lure.
but the line kept softly shifting,
Closer than before,
not to pull me into chaos, but to widen what I'm standing for.
there is ground that keeps extending, farther than I see, where the meeting of the waters does not threaten me.
When the edge feels like it's ending, when my heart is tight,
There is space beyond the boundary,
opening in light.
I had feared the endless distance,
Thought I'd drift away,
if I let the tide surround me.
even for a day.
Yet the rhythm held me steady,
Did not let me fall,
turning every shifting moment into strength for all. There is ground that keeps extending, steady, calm and wide, through the pull of restless motion, through the turning tide. When the path feels close to breaking, when my plans divide, there is peace along the water, standing at my side. along the ever-reaching shore.
A deeper rest is found.
Gray across the open window, drops against the glass, rhythms falling without hurry, letting moments pass. I had wished for clearer weather, for a break in sound, thinking silence meant relief from what was all around. Every drop a quiet question, every cloud a weight, wondering how long the sky would hesitate. But within the constant foaming was a softer tone, not a storm of wild confusion, but a steady undertone. There is mercy in the rhythm, gentle, deep and slow, washing through the tired places only heaven knows. When the days feel overspilling, when my strength is small, there is blessing in the rainfall, covering it all.
I had measured hope by sunshine, by the clearing blue, thinking warmth must mean the proof that something new was true. Yet the steady sound kept working through the hidden ground, softening the hardest soil without a louder sound. There is mercy in the rhythm, falling without end, through the cracks of quiet waiting, through the need to mend. When the sky stays gray above me, when the night is long, there is grace within the raining.
Steady,
Soft and strong.
beneath the never-ending rain, my restless heart is grown. Clouds drift high in silent motion, blue without a seam. Air moves freely through the valley like a waking dream. I had lived beneath low ceilings, pressed by unseen weight, measuring each breath I borrowed from the hands of fate. Every thought a guarded chamber, walls drawn close and tight, trying to protect a fragile spark against the night. Then the walls began to loosen, edges falling thin. Light moved through the broken places, reaching deep within. Space unfolds around my weakness, room enough to stand, not confined by fear's enclosure or my careful hand. When the wind begins to question, when my strength runs dry, I am steadied by a presence far beyond the high. without structures built for safety, guarding every role. Yet the air itself sustained me, held me as I moved, turning every step uncertain into something proved. Space unfolds around my weakness, steady, calm and sure, through the stretch of open distance, through what I endure. When the ground beneath feels shifting, when my plans divide, there is safety in the wideness, standing at my side. No ceiling in the keeping, no wall around the air. Within the open quiet, I find my rest there. Evening pressed against the window, shadows on the floor, silence leaning heavy against a closing door.
I had tried to hold my balance on a thinning line. Every promise felt uncertain, every breath confined.
Strength I thought would last forever flickered in my chest like a fading light that trembles when it's put to test. Then beneath my failing footing, past my will to try, there was something firm and quiet I could not deny. Arms unseen were all around me,
Closer than my fall,
not demanding I be stronger,
not demanding hide it all.
when my knees gave way beneath me,
When my grip was gone,
there was mercy underneath me, holding on. I had feared the moment weakness
would expose the ground.
thought the loss of my own power would undo what I had found. Yet the breaking was not ending, not the final word. In the hollow of surrender, something else was heard. Arms unseen were all around me,
Steady, calm
steps slow and warm. Wind moves lightly through the grasses of a field reborn.
I had wandered past the markers I once knew by heart, losing sight of every boundary where I used to start.
Every mile felt disconnected, farther than before, thinking I had crossed a line with no returning door.
But the ground beneath my walking never pulled away, not retreating from my weakness, not refusing stay.
There is nearness that remains, even when I roam, not diminished by the distance, still becoming home. When the weight of doubt surrounds me, when my strength is thin, there is presence steady with me where I have been. I had feared the silent widening, thought I'd gone too far, that the place I once depended on would not know where we are.
Yet beneath the open distance was a constant thread, holding through my restless turning, through the paths I tread.
There is nearness that remains, calm and firm and sure, through the seasons of my drifting, through what I endure.
When my path feels unfamiliar, when my courage bends, there is faithfulness beside me that never ends.
No absence in the journey, no fading in the thread. Where I thought I stood forgotten, a quiet love had stayed. First light spills across the hillside, quiet in the air. Everything opens wide before me, answering a prayer. I had learned to lower hoping, keep it small and safe, trim the edges of desire so nothing felt too great.
Every dream was softly added, score to what I knew. Careful not to lean beyond what seemed barely true.
But the day began expanding past my measured sight, not confined to cautious language, not restrained by might. More than I was ever daring, more than I could frame. Like a widening horizon without a name. When my faith is barely breathing,
When my faith is barely breathing, when my strength is thin,
there is fullness past my limits, drawing me within.
I had shaped expectation to a modest size, building narrow little windows for a smaller sky.
Yet the light kept overflowing past the lines I drew, turning guarded, quiet, hoping into something new. More than I was ever daring, steady, rich and wide. Through the edges of my language, through my guarded side. When my hands are empty, trembling,
When my hands are empty, trembling, when I stand unsure,
there is
giving past my measure, deep and sure.
no ceiling to the answer,
No edge to what is shown,
beyond the smallest shape I made.
a greater gift has grown.
Dark blue under quiet waters, moonlight barely shone, surfaced calm and undisturbed, yet not alone. I had feared the unseen layers, far below my sight, where the ground no longer answers and there's no solid height. Every step felt unsupported, every breath unsure, thinking only what I touched could ever be secure. But beneath the fragile surface, past the silver line, there was motion slow and steady, working underneath the tide. There is strength below the surface, holding through the sway, not demanding I be weightless, only that I stay. When my footing feels uncertain, clung to visible anchors, to what my eyes could prove, never trusting what was deeper than the things that move. Yet the quiet kept sustaining, firm without display, carrying my fragile balance through another day. There is strength below the surface, silent, deep and sure, through the pull of shifting currents, through what I endure. When the night grows thick around me, when the waves are strong, there is life beneath the waters, carrying me within the unseen underflow. I am carried across. Numbers drift across the silence, pages left undone, midnight leaning on the edges of what I've begun.
I had tried to mark the margins of what I could receive, tallying the quiet mercies I would dare believe.
Every gain was weighed and measured, every loss recorded tight, keeping score of fragile blessings through another night.
But the ledger would not hold it, lines began to blur. What I thought was all allotted kept becoming more, more than I can calculate, more than I can trace, overflowing every column I had set in place. When my sums fall short of mercy, when my totals bend, there is goodness still increasing before the counting ends. I had feared the final figure, thought the sum was small, that the page would close in silence with no gift at all.
Yet the margins kept expanding past what I had known, turning careful expectations into overgrown. More than I can calculate, steady, wide and true, through the math of all my doubting, through my narrow view. When I think the line is finished, when the ink has dried, there is blessing still unfolding on the other side. No